So hey everyone, I'm Arnold, and today I have a special guest with me. He's Shivam Patel. Shivam, would you like to tell us a bit about yourself for the audiences that aren't familiar with you?
Sure. Hi Arnold, how you doing? So my name is Shivam Patel. I'm a qualified actuary. Been working most of my career, so about 14 years in the life area. So I guess I started off from university doing the actuarial science degree route. I then went as a graduate into KPMG, worked there for about 4 years, and then decided to take a leap into the contracting world. So then did some contracting work at Friends Life and then MetLife recently, for about 10 years in total. And then more recently, at the start of the pandemic, coincidentally, I started off a recruitment company specializing in kind of actuarial hires.
That sounds very, very interesting. So I just personally, I have a few questions about contracting. So
Okay.
I'm just wondering what are since you've done both, what do you think of corporate versus contracting? How is it different, in terms of the workload, the opportunity to learn, and compensation, for example, for the audiences who are not familiar with the two? Yeah, can you give us a bit of why you went into contracting and how did you find it?
Yeah, sure. So I guess for me, contracting, starting with that kind of element of pay, always naturally pays more than permanent. I think it's with the added risk that, you may not have a contract for a few months, or you kind of might have a contract cut short. So I think there's always that risk element, but it kind of makes your eyes open up wider when you see some of the numbers, especially early on in your career. So that was kind of one of the tempting factors to kind of go into contracting. Back then, when I did, that's when kind of Solvency II work was kind of bubbling around. So there's a lot of contracts available. I think my initial contract was 9 months. And so I calculated, obviously being an actuary, I calculated, how much I'd have to kind of not work for to make kind of my permanent salary back again. So I thought it's worth taking the risk. I was ready to try something different from KPMG. I had a great learning experience at KPMG. I was ready to kind of change and make a bit of a new challenge. So it was a natural stepping stone. And so when I was looking at both permanent and contract, and then the contract just made sense because, like I say, financially it was better off, but also being able to do different contracts, have different learning opportunities. And that's what I really liked about KPMG, was being able to do different projects. So as a contractor, you sometimes get to do different projects and different companies, so you get to learn different ways of doing things.
Yeah. I think one of the things that kind of draws my attention about contracting is that they pay you a day rate, right? And I'm just wondering, from your perspective, you've done contracting, what sort of skill level, or what sort of essential skills would you say someone who's starting out should gain first in a corporate before they try to take the leap to become a contractor? Because I guess when you're a contractor, you're the clients might not be so inclined to pay you the day rate while teaching you everything, right? So they kind of expect you to know a bit. So what sort of key skills do you think we should all have before taking the leap?
Sure, yeah. So I guess maybe just before I come to the skills, I think one of the things I've noticed that especially in my new role now in the recruitment business, a lot of people I think worry about finishing the exams before going into contracting. Yeah. So I personally I think I had 2 exams left before I went contracting. And I think it's just about discipline then, you just carve out your time and do the exams. And I think sometimes it pushes you harder because every day you don't work, you don't get paid, like you said, day rate contract. So I think that one worry people have is finishing off the exams before contracting. But there's lots of contracts available for part qualified actuaries. But then in terms of the skills, I think it's a bit difficult to answer that in one kind of short way. But most of the times contracts are there to kind of fill a need. So there might be a certain gap in a project or a gap in a BAU team, and they need someone with that specific skill set to come in and just kind of do the work for 3, 6, 9 months or whatever it may be. So I think the skill set is quite difficult to kind of know what to try and build up to get into that area. But there are kind of areas. So for example, the modeling world in actuarial space is really big for contracting. There's lots of language, lots of programming tools out there that, companies have a lot of contractors for. So that might be one area that someone would focus on to kind of be good at programming in that, or kind of modeling in that specific tool. But I think also just a wide range of skills. So, recently IFRS 17 has been coming up in the market, and, no one could really say they were an expert in that kind of few years back. So, there's lots of contracts available. People don't have the background skills, but they might have, reporting, some IFRS reporting background. So, some natural skills that lead you to kind of like go into that area. So I think like if you're doing like a modeling contract, then get really kind of familiar with lots of modeling tools and platforms. I think there's a big differentiator when companies look, if you are a coder or just a user, and so I think contracts typically for the modeling ones are people doing the coding of it.
I see. So there's another question that I have about contracting. So basically, for example, IFRS or Solvency II, when they first started out, nobody really knows much about them, right? So, for example, if I'm a contractor who've started contracting 15 years ago, and now I'm in a contracting world where everyone is hiring someone with IFRS knowledge. How do you get these sort of new skills and experience as a contractor who your clients probably just wants you to do what you already know for an extended period of time?
Yeah, I think with that, probably if you're 15 years contract, and let's say you've only been doing a certain area for those 15 years, I think in your CV, just showing that credibility as an actuary. I think a lot of actuaries have transferable skills, especially, for example, working in a consultancy. You can't be a subject matter expert in M&As or kind of IFRS 17 projects, but you do get involved in those different projects. So I think just showing on your CV that you're adaptable. So if you've had 15 years of experience in the same area, maybe highlighting, every company that you worked at, different kind of key skills or strengths that you've got, which shows your diversity as an actuary. And I think also that one thing is that a lot of contract opportunities, when I went for interviews as a contractor, that's the time to sell yourself, and you can show from reading of the kind of topic or subject that you can actually get to grips with it quite quickly. So I think I wouldn't let it put people off. IFRS 17, like I say, has not been around for too long, so you can't have that many experts. Now it's been around for a while, a bit more longer, so there are people that have been doing it for a few years, but still, not as long as some other areas that people are experts in.
Yeah, definitely. So I think is a interesting thing to think about, how to get skills as a contractor when you're. But I think it's certainly an interesting area to get into for some of the people. I'm just wondering, I've also heard about this IR35 change. So basically, my understanding is that contractors can't operate as a limited liability company anymore. They have to be paid under they have to kind of be treated as an employee, and like they pay income tax instead of company tax. Does that kind of affect the contracting world? Like, do you see that like it kind of like takes away that attractiveness in some people?
Definitely. I think over the last like kind of 18 months, I've definitely seen that kind of question people's like desire to keep contracting, because the tax benefits you might get as operating as a limited company and as a kind of a PAYE umbrella company option. There's a big difference for a start, but also rates haven't increased to reflect that. If anything, I think rates have been coming a bit down, especially over the COVID period where there's not as much work going on or flow of contract roles. So yeah, I think it's definitely made people think about, is permanent better, where you might get, proper sick pay, whatever the kind of benefits you might get, pension, the rest of it. So yeah, I think it's definitely put people, kind of made them think about it again. But I would say there's still contracts available where you can go what they call outside IR35 to still operate through your limited company. So there are still some contracts around like that, but the majority of what they call kind of inside IR35 now, where you have to get taxed like a normal employee.
Okay, interesting. So like if people want to continue to take advantage of their limited company, they'll have to look for roles that are outside of IR35. Okay, yeah, that's interesting and probably something for people to think about. I'm just wondering, you mentioned that during the start of the pandemic, you set up your company, Actuary. So can you just tell us a little bit of how that idea came about, and how did you realize that you can make this switch?
Yeah, sure. So I guess for me, like I said, I've been contracting for a while now, and I've been at the last company that I was working at for a good amount of time, and there were some natural changes going on, and I was kind of flying back and forth from Dublin for that role, not that often, but every other week or so, and I had my second child was due to be born at end of February of 2020. So I thought, I can't really be traveling continuously going forward, so let me think about what I want to do. And that's kind of where I thought about setting up a business. And, me as a person, I've always had lots of business ideas, but I think the risk-averse actuary in me has kind of stopped me from taking the plunge. The natural transition of like coming away from that contract, I actually looked for some other contractors in the UK market, but, a lot of contracting in the UK market is, not necessarily in and around where you live. So I live near London, and I didn't want to travel to Birmingham or to Scotland. It's the same as me going on to a flight to Dublin. So I thought, let me try and be a bit more home based. So I had a couple of business ideas. I probably can go on about some of them, but they were really tangential to kind of actuarial space. But I thought, what can I use from my experience for the last 14 years? And I think in trying to find a contract, what I found is that if there was someone with some knowledge of the industry could help me kind of really understand what I was looking for, or kind of the next steps and moves. So that's why I thought, bringing together that kind of years of experience I've got, but also the kind of desire to help people find the right roles. So that's kind of what made me think of the idea. And then I was supposed to start in January 2020, but then the contract I was on, they needed me for 2 more months, so I stuck around till the end of February. And then my daughter was born, so I took a few weeks to spend with her, and then started the business, fresh-eyed and ready to go, 17th of March 2020. And then a week later we were in lockdown and everyone closed the doors and no more recruitment. So yeah, it was an interesting, challenging start to the business for sure.
Yeah. It must be tough to start the business at that time, but I think like now I'm looking at your LinkedIn, everything seems to be up and running now, and you seem to be expanding. So congratulations to that. Just wondering, what kind of like services do you think like you can offer better as an actuary, and like how do you differentiate yourself with like a sea of other recruiters?
Yeah, sure. I guess like for me the key aspect, and so like you say, looking to expand, and we're looking to expand as a company with other actuaries or people with actuarial experience. And I think that's the key for us, is to have that added value of, not only understanding the technical elements, but having worked in some of those roles. So, I've worked in a consultancy environment, I've worked in the insurance industry environment, I've worked as a permanent, worked as a contractor. So, I can relate to people's kind of like, positions, if they want to move across, or if they want to, look at a different area of work. So not only just the technical aspects of understanding Solvency II or, other aspects of the actuarial world, but, having actually lived and breathed it for 14 years. And so, as we kind of bring on new actuaries, that's what we want to develop in the team, is, a wider set of skills. So, if I don't know a certain area of the business that someone's looking to apply for, then we can sort of like try and help in any way we can. So that's kind of the key focus, and that's what I think the value add is, not only from the candidate side, because from the candidate side we can sort of help with their kind of looking at their experience and see if they would fit with the company, but also from the company side, just understanding the culture, and if I've had that experience and understand working in that environment, I can sort of see if the candidate will fit. But also understanding the job spec, there's sometimes some job specs you might have seen thrown your way on, but and I definitely know as an actuary kind of like for that many years, some of the roles have a lot of technical bits in them. So just kind of be able to decipher and look through that and help with the candidate's search, if that makes sense.
That's so true. I think like as actuaries, it's kind of like an actuary. The word is kind of like an umbrella term that describes loads of different people doing very different jobs. And like there are many times when like recruiters were not like specialized enough or like knowledgeable enough of this field send me like job descriptions that are completely irrelevant to my work experience previously. So like I guess definitely like having that sort of like actuarial background will help the candidate to navigate through their career, like, and you can add your own experience to guide them as well. So I think like is a really good idea. I think just one question I have is like so far, like how did you find like working as a recruiter versus working as an actuary? Like what kind of like skill sets like did you bring from the actuarial world, and like what kind of skill sets like do you think like you've picked up as a recruiter, which might probably supplement the knowledge you have in actuarial already?
Yeah, sure. I think for me, definitely one skill that comes across from the actuarial space is that communication element, right? I think as an actuary, people probably have this perception of actuaries being on their Excel spreadsheets all day long, but as an actuary, and one of the modules that you take as a study exam, that you have to do a communication paper. So that's key, talking to different stakeholders, whether it be outside the actuarial function, in a different area of the business. So I think that's definitely helped me, being able to talk to different types of actuaries and varied age ranges and number of years experience. So that's definitely something I've brought across. But I guess in terms of something I've learned and developed over the time is definitely getting thicker skin. I think maybe I was a bit too sensitive starting the business, but when you get a rejection initially, it kind of feels like it's a lot more impactful. But I think slowly over time you can understand that it's kind of a long-term business. I think the key thing for us is not having to place someone necessarily straight away. It's if that person doesn't want to look around, having that relationship, it's over their career, like you say, help guiding them. Any kind of advice I can give as an actuary, happy to do so. So that's the thing that I found the trickiest, I think, in the business is kind of getting my skin a bit thicker.
Yeah. I guess like when you're a recruiter, like you get rejected by candidates all the time. Like, guess like you have to remind yourself that it's not personal.
Exactly.
I guess like from a candidate's point of view, we don't often see that. Like we kind of like, yeah. But I like we still, so like that's why we probably like don't appreciate that, and maybe we'll like ghost somebody or something like that. So like, yeah, I think it's important to maintain a good relationship with your recruiter. For anyone watching.
Yeah. They should keep replying to my emails.
Don't ghost your recruiter, and and don't be rude.
I get it. I think having been on the other side of the fence, sometimes work is so busy. You're doing exams, and you see an email come through or a call or something. You just don't have time, and I completely understand it. So, like you say, the key thing is not to take it personally. So that's what I've learned over time is it's not.
Yeah, seems like there's a lot of experience. Just wondering, like we talked about sort of like giving advice to people who are starting out and like who are still doing their exams. Like, what sort of advice would you give to them, like if they're earlier on in their career, say for example like 2 to 3 years in, and they're navigating their career? What would you tell them?
Yeah, I think like there's a lot of actuaries that stop taking exams, and there's a lot of actuaries that kind of go through it. And I think my view to kind of people 2 or 3 years into career is keep on with the exams. I know it's tough trying to balance a full-time job and taking exams twice a year. Not even just the kind of technical elements of doing the exams and the materials you have to read, but finding the time when you're really busy. And I know when I was at KPMG, that was kind of peak times, especially the April sitting, it was really busy, but then you have to do like a couple of exams at the end of it. So I think perseverance, like just keep going with it. And there's definitely going to be times where people get knockbacks, maybe fails or work just ramps up. Sometimes if you fail a couple of exams, you've got to that stage that you're smart enough to take the exams and do them. So it might be just changing tactics, leaving that one exam, taking another one in the next sitting, and then come back to it, or changing the style. There's lots of ways of studying, tutorials, study material online, these kind of lots of support groups and stuff. So key advice is perseverance, and then if someone gets to that stage in their career where their work path is going to be better by not having the kind of hindrance of doing the exams, then that's when you make the call. But in the 2 or 3 year early start stage, I would say definitely persevere and kind of get through as many exams as you can, and then see the light.
Like I think like that's so important, like because like there are so many times when you just can't see the end and you just want to give up, like taking the exams. Like, I think like after putting your head down for like 2 or 3 more sittings, it starts to feel like you can see the end. Like certainly like for me, I'm just wondering like for people who have decided that maybe they've had enough of the exams. For example, they've done like 5-6 years and they can't see the end of the tunnel yet. So like what kind of other career choices do they have? And like sort of like would your company provide any guidance to them?
Yeah, definitely. I think like there's lots of like really good actuaries that I know that for whatever reason just stopped taking exams, personal situations. It wasn't something that they liked focusing their time and energy on. They'd rather do kind of the skills and work area rather than doing that. So definitely can help in that aspect. I think one of the key things that I kind of try and look past sometimes is, when people are kind of saying we need a qualified actuary, but sometimes a qualified actuary might be not necessary to have the FIA or the FFA. It kind of maybe just enough years experience. So, I think instances where clients have been like, we want a qualified actuary, it might be that we could say this person is a perfect fit for you. Do you need them to have finished the exams? If not, then it's definitely worth having a chat with them. So I think where we add value is kind of almost the exam bit is kind of a precursor to knowing how someone's doing in the exams, but actually looking through the experience and kind of matching that with the job spec, and then seeing if, sometimes you need to have the qualification to do certain jobs. There would be a kind of a sign-off role or whatever. So then you might need that, but other times it may just be that that's the desirable to get someone that's done the exams, but actually that might not be the essential. It might be actually having 6 years of pricing experience is more important than finishing the exams.
Yeah, that's good to know that like they have the options to sort of get jobs that way as well. And it's not like the exam is not the only thing that like not having the exams is not the end of the world as well. Like you mentioned just now when we're talking that like you've always had a lot of different business ideas. Would you mind sharing one or two, like if you're not worried that someone will still steal it?
You know what? I'd be happy if someone actually did it because I didn't have the guts to do it. So yeah, happy to share it. So when I was setting this business up, one of the ideas was around doing a juice business. So where I live, by the station here, it's an overground station, and you've got a little small coffee hut, but nothing else to grab on the way to London. It's probably about a 20-minute train ride into London. So I just thought something that's like kind of fresh juices. I think a lot of people are kind of thinking about that in terms of, health and being aware of that. So, have certain juices that are fresh, really good for you, bottled up. Someone's getting a 6 o'clock train in the morning, they can just grab a bottle and drink it on the way into London. So that was one of the ideas. I got a website, still have the website actually. Did the logo, looked into all that. And again, being an actuary, I've got a spreadsheet as well that's got all the information in there in terms of cost of bottles and stuff. But yeah, thankfully didn't do that given people started working from home and not catching the train.
Yeah.
But that was one of the kind of ideas that had no relevance to the actuarial space in the sense of natural transition of skills. So yeah, that was one of the ideas, and then some app ideas have come into my mind, and it's always kind of that entrepreneurial side of me has kind of been there. So that's why I thought it makes sense to kind of follow it through this kind of time and set the business up. And I really enjoyed it so far. I think the way I sum it up to people is, I really enjoyed being an actuary, like working in the day job, and I think going forward, I'll still kind of do some actuarial work because I think that's a key for me is to keep up my knowledge and be relevant. So I'll do some ad hoc kind of consulting work. But, I sum it up by saying I probably would have told my wife, 10 times over my career what I would have done in a day job. I don't think she really wanted me to tell her about solving a macro problem or something like that. Whereas, now I kind of get so much energy from talking to people and, describing people's kind of characters, and I think I learn a lot from this business as well. So last year I joined up to a working party for the institute, and that's only from talking to people that are doing it already. And so it kind of came to my mind thinking, actually, let me have a look into it and try it out. So I think that's kind of one of the things I've taken away and I've really enjoyed is learning from other actuaries as well.
That's very interesting, and like I'm glad that like you're finding the energy and like the passion in this business now. Like just wondering like what kind of plans do you have for this business going forward?
Yeah, sure. So I guess I'm always a big thinker. So, when I first set this business up, when it was in that COVID period, I was kind of looking globally at, opportunities to reach out to new clients. And then I brought it back to the UK because the UK started opening the doors to recruit. So I think for me, the key business focus is to grow, to offer, all services of, actuarial domains, so life, general pensions, which we do already, contracting permanent, but try and grow a bigger team of, actuaries in-house here so that we can actually offer, if someone's got a really niche skill set and they want to kind of talk to someone and get some advice, they can talk to a relevant person in the business. And then, grow globally. I don't see why I should limit myself to the UK and Ireland. Like, we have roles in Bermuda on our site. We've got Dubai options as well. So it's already kind of expanding into those areas, but, why not kind of get an office in Sydney sometimes in the future? I'm not holding myself back.
Oh, that would be amazing. And for anyone who wants to look into the job, just we'll link the website down below. I guess. Perfect. Thanks for giving us your time and sharing your experience. I'm sure the audience enjoyed this conversation. Before we end, do you have anything? Do you have any final words that you want to tell to the audience?
So I guess before I make a slight plug for the business and kind of get people to come and chat to me, I think I'm always really interested to hear what people's journeys have been like. Where they kind of see themselves going as well. I think the key thing is always stay motivated in your work. I think that was one of the main reasons for doing this new business, is to get that energy back, revitalize that energy. So keep persevering with exams or kind of the goals that you have. And if you want to have a chat about your career, whether you're looking to move or not, happy to have a chat. I've always got time to talk to new actuaries and kind of, like I say, learn things myself as well.
That's great. Wonderful. Thank you very much for your time, Shivam.
Thanks.
And enjoy your weekend.
Cheers. Thanks. Take care. Bye.